Guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. If you're tuning in, please make sure you guys hit that like button and let us know what type of content you're looking for. I'm really appreciative of our guest today that we are going to follow her journey and see it from a female perspective on what I would say that gaining a new mental aspect can do for you in dating, just in your day-to-day life, and also, to continue living in this wretched world. So, Jessica, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. How about you?
Good.
So happy to be here.
How's your day been so far?
I just got hit on the highway, so
Really?
I'm feeling great by myself.
Does that happen to women a lot? Like, you be on a red light and you guys always get hit on. Like, is it a scary experience? Is it?
For me, I mean,
or
I love it.
Who hits on you.
I mean, it's an ego boost, regardless.
Okay.
Regardless, but I find it that it's cute, But if it starts to be like, "Hey, mom, like I'm gonna follow you down the street," like that's when it's like weird. But the initial, "Oh, you look nice," and "Hey, I'm trying to get to know you," whatever, that's fine. I think it's cute.
Okay. I mean, I think whenever it gets to catcalling, then that's like a whole different level. Like, hey, shorty, like, what's your number type thing. And, I mean, women experience it a lot, don't they?
I mean, you can say, what's your number? But if I'm like, I'm good, and you're like, okay, you dumb B, like that. Now you're like, I was just cute 5 minutes ago, and now you don't want me. So I think the energy, the intent is important. And I feel like most women can tell, like, when the intent is, I'm trying to play with you, or the intent is, I'm really interested in you. I want to get to know you more.
Really? But then why do we find ourselves involved in like situations that like don't necessarily turn out good for us if you guys are actually good at reading it?
I think it depends on the situation. Because if I meet you on the street, you could present a certain way, and then it's up to me to have like strict boundaries. And so if your boundaries are really fickle, then people can really kind of insert themselves in certain things, and you can start to react to a situation more than being proactive with it. So that can allow you sometimes to just kind of go with the flow, and a man can start playing you. But if you know what you want and you have strong boundaries, then you can meet somebody and just realize, okay, they're not on the same page, don't have the same vision that I have, and you can cut that off.
Just to give the audience a little bit of context, like this is a new perspective you've gained, right? Like, and kind of like what you or orienting your content towards.
Yeah.
But let's go back to kind of like a few years back on what your own perspective was, let's say like on your journey, like about yourself, relationships and stuff like that.
So this, I guess, revelation, I guess I came to in the last year, maybe year and a half. When I moved here, I was moving a lot. I moved from Raleigh, then I just got to Charlotte about 5 months ago.
How come? Why'd you make the move to Charlotte?
Long story short, I had some work ops,
Okay.
so I had to leave the city, but
Okay.
and also just being closer to family and things like that.
Okay.
And just trying to start anew. And so I'm really glad I came here. Like, I'm really enjoying the city, and I finally feel like I've reached a level of maturity and adulthood here in Charlotte. So I feel like I'm growing in my womanhood a lot, at least in these last 5 months. But to answer your question, the beginning of my journey of self-love, self-appreciation, it really started from a dark place, because I never really saw what it meant to be loved by a man.
High school, we're talking like as far as back as high school, as far as back as your childhood, or what?
Childhood, yeah.
Childhood, okay.
Yeah. My mom, she was married, and so I saw her in a married capacity. But I, in my opinion, didn't really have a lot of strong male figures that were good husbands, or even good boyfriends. And so I saw a lot of men in my community just like running the streets, having babies, doing what they wanted to do, and the women had to take on a big responsibility for the house, for making the money, just all of it, right?
Women for making the money as well?
So I really grew up with this idea of like being able to take care of yourself, and not really with the idea of like how to love yourself, which I think is a completely different conversation. So as I started to grow and mature, and I started to have feelings for boys, I just kind of went with the feeling, and I really had no like plan for it.
Went with the feeling means that whatever situation you were brought into, you never analyzed it. You just because this person was here, like, hey, like, let's match.
Yeah, if I liked them, that's just what I did. I really had no plans, just kind of winging it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's important to say, like, the example you're set forth, like, since childhood kind of like goes back into like what you experience in middle school, high school, because then your expectations are like, okay, that's normal. Like, and so like in high school, like, did you have like a tumultuous like relationship with like boys, like what, like with yourself? What kind of was like the journey there?
I never had a tumultuous relationship with boys. I had a weird relationship with myself. My self-esteem was in the trash. And
how come, like?
Well, I believe a part of it had to do with the fact that I was the only black girl in like a majority all-white school. So I grew this, I would say, desire to peacock a lot, to like try to stand out, because none of the boys were looking for me, and you were like one of maybe 20 people in the school that looked like you. So you had this really small community of people. And so I think having that experience, my own father not necessarily being physically there that much, even though he would, give money, he wasn't really physically there all the time. So trying to like boost myself up was, now looking back, because of my low self-esteem.
Did you try to like make yourself pop out, like by being funny, like getting in trouble, or what exactly?
Being funny, being really pretty, being super flirty, all those things that just would get attention. So yeah. Did
it work for you? For how long? And did it help you in anything?
At times it worked. At times. But again, I didn't really have a goal. I just wanted to be seen. So after I was seen, there was really nothing else I kind of wanted. So again, it was just like the winging it kind of aspect. But overall, no, it didn't help me, because I had to realize that I got older, but the way I viewed myself never really evolved. And so I took that peacocking, having to be like the center of attention, having people to like me all the time, like wanting people to like me so bad, that people pleaser muscle that I grew over my childhood followed me even into like my later years. And so I had to, again, recognize what truth I believed about myself and kind of redirect that.
But so then, if high school was kind of like that, then when did it kind of start to make the shift? Like when you actually moved down here, or what was that like? Because I mean, high school to where you are at now, like I bet there was also a lot of self-development through there.
Again, I really think the biggest breakthrough I had in growing my self-esteem, which even allowed me to make the content that I do now, happened in the last year. So in like from age 24 to now, that the biggest breakthrough, the biggest solving the identity crisis that I didn't even know I was having, that happened within the last year. But I always had like a level of self-awareness where I knew like I wasn't really comfortable, or, oh, I really don't like this or don't like that. But I wasn't sure why these things were happening. I wasn't sure why I was feeling this way. But now I'm really able to like identify what I did, the boundaries I didn't have, and now like what I want, really.
So what is it that you want?
Why are you looking at me?
No, like, so what is it that then you want to aim for? Like now, then that's different than your past relationships.
So I have like this list of qualities that I want in a man, but the overall goal is to have a happy and healthy long-term relationship. That's the overall goal.
Okay.
Now, the qualities of the man that I want, I've gotten super specific about. And anything beyond that, I just don't even entertain. Like, it's just not a thing anymore.
You used to entertain it?
Because I just was winging it. I had no really like vision of the person that I wanted, so I just kind of entertained anybody that looked cute or that gave me the attention that my attention needing self wanted. And so once I could identify that I was working with like needing attention, you know, that little needing attention demon, I can identify it, and then I can course correct in the moment. You know, like, Jessica, you're doing too much, because you're either feeling insecure in this moment, or you want people to look at you, so you want somebody to validate that, you know, you're okay right now.
Yeah.
And I can validate myself now a lot more. So needing people to validate me is not the biggest thing going on in my life. So I'm able to go into situations with multiple people and be able to assert my needs. And if they don't meet my needs, I'm able to leave.
So would you say that you ever blame men on like the type of like how we're being raised or how we're being programmed? Like, let's say what we're watching, like, is it ever men that are the issue then? Or what is it that you think that has stopped you from finding something solid like that? You could be as vocal as you want about, like, I really don't. You can criticize. I'm up.
Did you hear that sign?
Yeah, I'm open to hearing what you got to say. So
No, I want to choose my words carefully.
Okay.
Because blame has a negative connotation that I don't like to use. What I would say is I believe it's men's responsibility.
Okay, that's an excellent word. Yeah.
Yeah, because just in general, I believe that, well, we live in a male-dominated, male-led society. So a lot of the structures in our society, the power structures, how things operate, were due to a man's leadership. A man somewhere down the line made a decision that this was how society was going to look. And because of that, you know, men have this, well, there's this this generality that men are supposed to be the providers and the protectors. And, you know, or the heads of the house, whatever term people use a lot as like what's a man's role supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really big on like gender roles per se, but knowing that in general, men are seen as this and women are seen as that, I find it to be a man's responsibility to lead by example, you know, because I know in my family, for my future husband, I would want him to be a leader. And I feel like you can't be a leader if your leadership is like situational, you know? So if you're a leader, then you're a leader, you know?
But I don't think that you can allow men to necessarily think like that there aren't roles. Like, or for example, in my perspective, mm-hmm. It's like, I think that men should know that they should not only be providers, but they have to be a variety of things. Like, mm-hmm. Okay, you are going to be a provider, you are going to be a leader. Because I think as soon as you start giving men that chance to become too vulnerable, then that's where you start getting men that don't necessarily know what they want. And I feel like men, once they like, if they live confused, that plays out in everything in their life. Like, they don't know exactly what their household responsibilities are. They don't know how to manage their relationships. Like, they don't know how to tell a woman, like, hey, this is what I want. They can't even tell themselves what they want. So, like, in my experience, I've seen that the most troublesome like problems that come from like men is that them not knowing what they want. Yeah. So like, I feel like traditional roles have worked to a certain extent. Obviously, I don't think you should stay with someone you don't love, like, you know, like how you see that women used to stay just because that's what was right, or you'll taint their reputation. Like,
yeah, the protection of men was vital, you know. I know people like to say that now in the modern dating that our relationships are really transactional, but our relationships have always been transactional.
It's exchange of values.
It's always been, what could you do? There has never been a year in human history where a man wasn't looked at for what his pockets had. There's no year. Like Cleopatra, she was picking husbands based on how big their army was. I mean, name anybody, like literally name anybody. A man's value has historically always been tied to what he could do, what he could produce, what he could give. And a woman's value was tied to how fertile she was, how beautiful she was, her ability to move in different spaces, to be sometimes seen and not heard, like how much of a homely wife could she be, how much of a home could she make a house, things like that. And so I would say that I think it's always been transactional, and I think that's the problem. Is
that it's been transactional?
That it's been transactional. And you shouldn't look at somebody like, what can you do for me? It's, who are you? How can we build together? You know?
I think that you start getting to very complicated because, like I said, it's like men can't only be one part of it. Like, you got to be both at the same time. Like, at the same time, you got to be worth something, I guess, today.
Like money-wise?
Yeah, like money-wise. Okay. You say it's not transactional, but you do got to be worth something. Like as a man, because then that allows you to show your leadership skills. Like, being worth something shows your leadership skills. I mean, not only in your relationship, but to your own like family. And also at the same time, I think you have to be emotionally responsible to all the people that you want. So you're saying that emotionally responsibility is a little bit more important than the worth of a man?
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
But can you live on love?
I don't think it's love. I think it's respect. And I think trust. Trust and respect, to me, are more important than love. Because I can't do nothing with your love. But if you respect me, you can go out into the world and not cheat on me because you respect me. But I firmly believe you can love somebody and still cheat on them. Like, I think those are two separate things, you know, because I think love is an emotion, and it should turn into an action verb, which is how you sustain a long-term relationship. But I can love somebody, like I love my mom, and sometimes I still talk to her crazy, you know? But I love her, you know? I may not always show love, but when I respect her, when I remember that I'm supposed to respect her, my actions towards her will be different. So I think, again, respect and trust are more important than love in any...
So how does a man start gaining your respect and your trust? And how does it go the other way around?
I honestly believe that so my problem was that everybody started at 100. And they, like, when I met somebody, I would think they're like the best person ever, and then they would have to do crazy stuff to me to then drop down in points, where eventually when you got to 0, I'll be like, I'm done with you, right? But now I'm starting from 0, where everybody's just, you know, you gotta be a little suspicious of everybody, and then they have to show you that they are worth, or they're a person of integrity, or they're a person who's a man of their word, right? So for a man to earn my respect, it's not really about earning my respect, because as a human being, I respect who you are just in general living in the world. But for me to respect you as the leader of my household, as a partner for me, you have to show me that you are a man of your word. You know, that you can say something and it's going to happen, that you can make space for me in your life, and not that I have to somehow acquiesce to your life, but our lives can blend together. You know, like you can have a vision, that I can trust you, that you can go out into the world and be faithful. All those things would gain your respect as a partner, but we all should be respecting each other in our day-to-day interactions, regardless of if they're romantic or not. And I think sometimes you go in thinking like, what can they do for me? And you're automatically not respecting them as a human, because now you're like, you're a tool. How can I use you? How can I get what I want? And then I'm a dip.
But wouldn't you say it's always like a danger factor? Because like that person, let's say you do build them up, and then they change on you. Like,
the woman's building them up, or the man is?
It's because, again, we're going to an exchange of values. I think that it could be either or. Like, I feel like whenever a good woman comes into a man's life, he helps build that man. And that man will know that. That man will recognize it. And like you said, that's where we owe that level of respect to women. And the same way around. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you said start at 0, right?
Yeah.
But, like, you build them up. And then they end up leaving.
No, not build them up. Like, I'm not the kind of person who thinks that you should be pouring into somebody and not getting anything back. That's different. What I meant starting from 0 and going to 100 is you're starting at 0 about who you think this person is. You know, you have no expectations. When I started at 100, I had all these expectations of they're going to be
illusional, Delulu world.
Delulu, you know? Like I wanted the rainbows, the unicorns, all of it, right? And I was ready to get married that day. You know, it was like that intense. And I was working down, every time it would be inconsistency or whatever, he would then lose points with me. But I'm recognizing that that's not the best way to go about it, because you start putting all your eggs in one basket when you start at 100. When you can really just start at 0 and allow people to show you who they are without you putting your own expectations on them, or you having these rose-colored glasses and you're not really seeing the red flags for what they are in the moment. So starting from 0 and working up is, again, just allowing somebody to show you who they are as a person, not necessarily having to help them build up themselves. Because you should be able to see if this person has an intention of, do I want to progress in my life or not?
Like you should start allowing the person to show you who he is, she or he is. And so you would, but isn't it romantic though to think that like this person can be this person can be that though?
What is the this and the that?
What I'm saying is like all your expectations covered since the start.
You shouldn't have any expectations. I think that's the problem, is going in expecting somebody to be a certain way. Because that's what I used to do, is I would see something I liked and automatically I put him in this category of the main event, right? And I didn't allow him to audition like everybody else. And when you cast the person that you just met, now you have these expectations of, well, I've cast you as the main guy in my life because I like you so much. You should do these XYZ things for me. And that's why you get people who are complaining and, women who are just like so upset, like so early out the gate with a man they just met, because they put all their eggs in that one basket and they have these expectations for this man to do something because of the role that man now has in her head. Now, starting from zero expectations. Who are you? What do you want? I don't ever try to be like, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? Try to like lead a man. I want to see what he wants from me, what his intention is with me. How
long would it take though for him to show you that he's something solid? Or do you think you'll just know?
I honestly,
because like I have friends that say that it'll take them 5 years of dating before they know they want to marry a person. And you started laughing. But I feel like when a man's intention is true, again, I think it's men's responsibility to know what they want in all aspects of life. And I feel like when a man knows what he wants, he kind of knows within.
Ain't nothing else going on.
Like that instant, like 2 years and okay, next year my fiance type of thing. But then how long does it take for you to like actually say, like, at what point do you say like, okay, then this is my person? Like what qualities does he have to show you? Like how do women know that? Like,
well, I think my philosophy is that you should see people in different seasons. And so if you've never seen him broke, or if you've never seen him on top of the world financially, or if you've never seen him going through grief, or you've never seen him work through a problem, like how do you really know who this person is? Because he's never been in any different situation. So you've never been able to see his character in a different situation. So I always say, just wait till you see him in a different season. And then if he is still a nice man, has integrity when he's down or when he's up, then that's his character. But if he treats you different when he got a little money versus when he broke, then you know that his character is flaky. If he treats you different when he's going through a tough mental time and he can't express himself, but when everything's all good, he's all lovey-dovey, then you know that that's not his strong suit. And you can't really trust the person you see in one season of their life, because we're all going to go through stuff that will change how we feel. It will change how we interact with the world, how we feel about ourselves, our decision making. And I think sometimes people just don't give it enough time. So there really is no set number of months, years, whatever, that you can see somebody in different seasons. But being able to see somebody at different stages of their life, I think, is important.
But I think that's hard, though, isn't it? Like, let's say like a man's broke and he's having a hard time. Like, are you the type to like want to stay there and like support him while he's going through that? But again, and you said like, when a man's going through a hard time and he can't communicate emotionally like through his words, then that would be an issue. Like, but what if that man like doesn't want to put that responsibility on you?
I won't say him not communicating his emotions would be an issue. I'm saying you should be aware of the difference of is it really his true personality that when he's going through something, he goes inward, And is that something that you can handle, right? And if that's something that you can work through somebody with, then at least you have the self-awareness of this is who that man is. But you get with somebody thinking that they're this open and optimistic person, they're like the life of the party, and then now they're going through a tough mental episode, and you're like, why we don't go out no more? I got used to this life. I got used to this, and now you're different and everything like that. And now you're judging somebody because they're just in a different space, So again, I think the seasons part is to be able to see at their core, who is this person in any situation that they're given. And I feel like you had like another question about like when or at what time. I'm sorry.
No, but going from like what you're saying, it's like, don't you think though that like love takes like different, like it evolves, doesn't it? Like who I was when I was 25 to where I'm gonna be at 30, like doesn't it change? So like that man's gonna be different. So like you're saying, like find in essence who that person is and how you're gonna react also, right?
I think you should just be looking. You should be watching who this person is in their life, right? As they go through these different seasons. That to me is the only thing. Not making any judgment calls, just being aware of who this person is. How does this person move when they're not feeling great mentally, when they just lost their job, when they just got a new job. Like you should be able to know that at their core, this person is a truthful, kind, faithful person in any situation. And love to me, again, you can love somebody. Like you can completely love somebody and not be compatible with them. You can have complete chemistry and not be compatible with them. And I feel like people get hooked up on the chemistry, like we hot in the butt for each other. We want to bump uglies, and they think that that's enough to sustain a relationship, but they're incompatible in their vision. They're incompatible in how, like their value system, And
I mean, you said something really important. I think the value system on like what you value for your life, what I value for mine. Like, I feel like for men and women, like that should be something that, just like you said, you start looking at the person for what he is. Like the value system also, like it's like, does this person treat their mom this way? Like how does this person treat their siblings? Like once you start seeing that, like you also start revealing to yourself, like, oh, this person is potential to take care of my kids type of thing. Like I've always said that, like the same way that this person does one thing, he'll do everything else. Like,
exactly.
So it's pretty insane how that plays out. But oh man.
And that's why I think your list of qualities you want in a partner has to be non-material. Because my list is all about character traits.
But it's because like that's what I'm saying. Like what. I think whenever you start making lists, because my friends also have lists, like, and I'm like, dude, come on, like,
you got to know what you want.
I get it, but I feel like you said that you don't build up a person, but I feel like you do. You do.
How?
Because if that person, you said you don't believe in the love aspect, like, but in my perspective, it's like if you love the person. You're going to be willing to make the change, or you're not?
Yeah.
So that's the
point. Because that is when love becomes an action verb. We can all feel love, but my commitment to you has to be an action. And so I think in general, trust, commitment, respect are more important qualities of a relationship, because you're not always going to feel love for somebody, but you should be, in your behavior, in your day-to-day, you should be acting in love, right? You should be acting in the area of love for somebody. Like, I don't really like you, but if I go get food, of course I'm gonna ask you what you want. Like that is me showing my respect for you. That's me showing I'm integrating you into my life. I'm not just worried about myself. That's an action. So building somebody up from like the ground, I don't think it's the same thing as me having a list of the qualities of a person, because I feel like your qualities won't really change if they're your quality. If it's your core, if that's who you are in your core, that's not going to change, right? But you having money, like if I put on a list, I want somebody to make $600,000 a year. He could not make 600,000 like next year. You know, that's not a good thing to have on your list because it can change. It's fickle, and why would you rest all your hopes on something material that is not based in who they are? Because they can have $10 million and not be generous with it. Then what does that $10 million do for you? So again, I think not being superficial with your list, having a very concrete, this is the character of the person that I want in my life. That is a good list to have. But having a material list of the look I want to have for my life on Instagram and stuff like that's not good.
That's not good?
No, that's not good.
So we're all...
The eye roll.
but no, it's because I'm thinking, and I'm like... So women's also, like, I guess perspective does have to change on, like, what actually matters. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, today we're propagating all this idea that men have to be rich, men have to do this for us, and then they're going to treat us... Do you think that that idea, like, of men having to be rich allows the other idea of women have to be submissive because of their money?
I think they can go hand in hand. Definitely. I kind of think it's like different from a woman's perspective why she's looking for a man to be rich. Because like I said before, there was no point in human history where a man was not looked at for his pockets. So when women say, I want him to make a certain amount of money, what I hear is, I want a certain amount of security with his money. I want a certain amount of access in my life because of his money. I don't ever hear like, oh, I want him because he a check. I want the security that money can bring. But I think leading with that in general makes you look superficial. And I don't think that's a good quality to look at in a man because, again, to me, the better quality is that he's a generous man. I want a generous man. I don't want somebody who's rich because he can be a stingy rich guy. But if he's generous with his $40,000 a year, I'm going to be in a better situation than somebody making $40 million and you got to go through all these hurdles and he don't want to give you nothing. Like, what does that $40 million do for you if he's not at his core a generous person?
Generous, you mean like with not only their money, but their time? What does generous necessarily mean?
Generous with their money, generous sexually, generous with their time, generous with their I think their love, honestly. Like all of that, just generosity. Are you a giver? Yeah.
Generous sexually, what does that mean?
There's a lot of people out here who just take sexually. They don't want to give. They want to receive. They don't want to be out here they don't want to be out here doing sexual positions that don't gratify them. They want to get their nut and they want to go, you know?
I had never heard that. Like, this is the first time I've ever heard that. I mean, like as men, I know that we get the ick like from a woman. So like maybe that's what you're talking about. Like men aren't generous. Like
they're not. Some people do not like going down on women. Some people do not care. I've heard men say that a woman's orgasm is her responsibility. Like that's not his job, you know? So there's a lot of men out here who are not operating in generosity in a sexual way, you know? And it's really based on their gratification and their enjoyment.
But then that takes away. Okay. Now I kind of get what you mean by generous. Like generous would mean, I guess for me, it'd be like taking into consideration what my partner likes. Mm-hmm. And even if I'm not fully committed to that or have ever been committed to that, so open to that.
Yeah. Do I care about how she feels at the end of this? You know?
Okay.
Does it matter that she is also pleased with this?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it should be both ways.
It should, but sometimes it don't. I've seen it.
Okay. I mean, I could see it. Like men do like to take away a lot, and rarely do I hear that. Oh, like I do take it into importance if my partner actually is being satisfied. So okay, so like I definitely get you on that. But okay, the generous part, yeah. I now I kind of get it. I
think it's a great quality. It's like my second most important quality on my list.
What's the first?
Security. I want to be able to trust you.
Security and like morally, so. Like,
more so, I just want to be able to trust that, like, you're a man of your word. You can go out into the world, be tempted with beautiful women, because beautiful women are going to exist forever. And you can go see them, be aware, and come back home to me. I want to be able to trust who you are, your behaviors, and your vision.
so you don't think you'd consider yourself like the jealous type?
No, I'm jealous, yeah.
But so at what point don't you go crazy? Like because I mean I've seen females go crazy just because somebody talks to them a certain way, like talks to her partner in a certain way. Like, is that how secure you are? Like, does that come from an insecurity standpoint? Because I've seen that, like, even us, like, I've seen men scold their partners because of things that they don't want them to do. So does that come from an insecurity standpoint?
Most definitely. When I say I'm jealous, I'm saying I'm possessive. So when I'm in a relationship, I don't want nobody else to want you, you know? But I know that I can be self-aware, like I can be objective about it, that there's going to be beautiful men out there for me that I think are attractive, but really at the end of the day, what is my responsibility being in this relationship? And I know that you're going to be encountering beautiful women the rest of your life, but are you responsible in that situation? So when I say jealous, it's like a playful, like, oh, I don't want nobody else to want you, whatever, like that. But going out of your way to infringe on somebody's right to, like, exist in the world where other beautiful women exist is a bit much. And that shows a deeper insecurity of maybe you've been cheated on and you're maybe recognizing some red flags. And I've never been cheated on, so I've never had that kind of animosity towards men and women being friends or anything like that. Like, that's not my thing. But again, I think when you start behaving like a jealous person, that's when your insecurity is really showing. But I can be jealous that, you're laughing at somebody else's jokes and not tell you and not infringe upon our relationship. And I can check myself and be like, Jessica, he can laugh at other people's jokes. It's not that bad.
Would it be an infringement then that your man is liking another girl's pictures? Like, how do you see that? Or what's your take on that? Because if you see him on the entire girl's feed from 2016 to 2023, I don't know. How do you see that?
If he's liking other women's pictures and they're like scantily clad, I think I may feel some way about it if he doesn't know them. Like, if they're not his actual friends and he's just like randomly liking pictures. But how do I know that he's liking the pictures in the first place? The fact that I even have gotten that intel, because Instagram don't tell you that no more, I'm going through his phone. So I'm already at a place where I don't trust you. And I'm behaving in a jealous way, which means we're too far gone to begin with. So
really,
I've never like, let me see what my man's doing. I'm finna like go through his phone and see what pictures he's liking and stuff like that. Because it's like, at the end of the day, how is he treating you? But again, I feel like that could make anybody like, she don't look like me. Why are you liking those pictures?
So would that make you feel a certain way? Would you communicate that? Like, how would you go about fixing that issue then?
I think if it does, I've never had that situation personally. If it does make you feel some kind of way, I really think, one, you should check yourself about if it's really that important. Is this a me thing or is this a us thing? Because there's sometimes like I feel like if you bring up certain things, like just anything, like, oh, I don't like you liking girls' pictures or whatever, it may integrate a level of insecurity into your relationship that didn't need to be there. Because it could have been something that you could have went to therapy about on your own. You could talk to your pastor about, your mama about, and just be like, I'm feeling really jealous in this way. Is it really that big of a deal? And if you feel like it's actually a big deal, then I think that's a conversation you can have with somebody. But I really believe it's overall, is this person giving you a reason not to trust them? Because if it's just Instagram, that can be an easy fix. Like, okay, I'm just not going to like their pictures, like whatever. But what's the real subtext of it? Is it because you don't feel loved? Is it because you feel like you're not getting the attention you need? Or they like certain kind of women and you've been cheated on before and you're like, I don't look like her. And you've gained a couple pounds and now you're feeling insecure about yourself. Like, that situation can be very complex. But again, I would check with yourself. Is this truly important for me to bring up to somebody? And if it is, bring it up with compassion, love, and not with any statements, only questions. Because when you have a statement, you don't give the man any time to like explain himself,
Statements.
Right. Like you have to go in with questions like, hey, I recognize that you like pictures. Does this mean that you don't like me anymore? Or is there something that I'm not doing? I'm having a feeling of insecurity about this, and it's coming from X, Y, and Z. I want to ask you, is that something I'm tripping about? Or have you noticed this too in our relationship? Ask more questions, You don't make statements. Like, I see you doing this, and it's very disrespectful to me. And then what is he supposed to do with that? Then he gonna be like, nah, bruh. And it's gonna be like, now y'all are both defensive about it. When you could just went in and be like, hey, with love, I'm feeling this kind of way. I want to ask more questions about it.
That is so emotionally mature, though. Like, that would also take the other person be super emotionally mature. Yeah. Because there's a lot of situations where it does come to play that people are making statements. They never ask the questions. It's like, you're liking this girl's picture, you must be cheating on me or something like that. Like, but you don't believe that in checking your partner's phone? Like, let's see who you're messaging or nothing like that.
If I have to do that, I don't trust you. And to me, trust and respect are the two biggest characteristics of a healthy relationship. And if I do not trust you, we don't have a relationship. We are two people coexisting in the same space right now. But yeah, if I have to go through your phone, we're not supposed to be together.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I kind of get it.
And maybe it's not you. Maybe it's me. Maybe I haven't healed from some past trauma where when I went through a boy's phone, I found some stuff I didn't want to find, And so now I'm looking at everybody like my opposition. And before I get hurt, I'm trying to just go in and make sure you ain't doing nothing crazy. That is a completely personal issue. And he's never going to be able to break through that because you're always going to have that wall up. So again, that's the self-awareness of, is this a me thing or is this an us thing?
Okay, I get it. But I feel like, so your take on like modern dating, what would it be like? Are these dating apps working? Or how have they played out for you?
I use the dating apps a lot.
A lot?
A lot. I'm like a number one dating app warrior. Yeah.
Okay.
I love Hinge.
I've heard one of my friends uses that app, and he's like that one is the best.
It is. I think just the interface to me is just better. Like as a tech computer science girl, like the interface to me is just easier to use. It's way more user friendly. So I just gravitated to it more. The colors were brighter, and it didn't hurt my head being on the app for like an hour talking to people.
Yeah.
So that was just one thing. But I won't say I've met a lot of people, and I think dating apps can help you cover more ground, but get yourself out there a little more.
But doesn't it get exhausting? Like, just like dating, and I don't know. Like, I mean, I haven't used dating apps because like I actually have a girlfriend now, but I would I see my friends experience it, and I'm like, dude, isn't it draining?
It can be, but you gotta know when it's time to close the app and take a break. And and if there's people who have liked my profile or whatever like that, it's like a system where if I have 4 conversations going on, if a conversation is now just dead, I just do not want to do this anymore, I'll either unmatch with them or I'll hide them, and then I'll move another person into their place. And so it's not it's not I'm entertaining all 50 people at one time. It's 4 at a time. We're doing this, and it's healthy that way.
Have you had any bad dates?
Had a guy wet willy my ear at the end of a date, and it was kind of aggressive. He grabbed onto me and was tongue in ear. I was like, I know you did not.
Really?
Your nasty tongue in my ear.
And it was the first date?
Yes. He was like, I'll see you next week. No, you won't. No, you will not.
That is so weird.
Yes. He was He was like big boy age, like 40s. Yeah, like I was on a date with a 40-year-old. I don't know.
Wow, but I would say that's a very childish character. I don't know. What qualities are women attracted to? Like out of everything, like is it the like is it a man's intelligence? Is it the way that he looks at you? Is it the way he carries himself? Like I said, men have to cover a lot of ground, but what would you say is like the most attractive thing about a man? That he can articulate his words perfectly well and communicate with you at every level. Like, what is it that makes that spark happen?
I really think it depends on your level of maturity.
Your own?
In general, a woman's level of maturity, her appetite for stuff will be different at different levels of maturity. So when I was extremely immature early in the dating space, my appetite for BS, for inconsistency, for lies and stuff like that, was, I would say, deeper and richer. So I would entertain that a lot more in the beginning. As I got more mature, my appetite for that has changed, has shifted, and I need you to come correct in the beginning. So depending on where her level of maturity is what she will find attractive to her. And for me personally, I love a man who can make plans, a man who's proactive, and a man who is generous, which is like 2 of my 5 things on my list. So that can really get me and show me that, like, okay, you're like actually an adult, and then I'll start entertaining conversation with you and everything. And obviously people want just like somebody that they can have fun with,
like laughing
and we can joke about stuff like going to the mall or going shopping for groceries. Something that's super mundane, going by myself, can be fun. Now going with you, I feel like that's something that I look for.
But then that's like emotional intimacy, right?
Yeah.
Like, because there's the bedroom intimacy, then there's like the emotional intimacy where you guys are just laying on the couch and like just having the time of your life.
Aww.
So
you think about your girlfriend now?
Yeah, but then have dating apps like helped you then? Like you would say it helps you, like even though they have been bad dates, like so they've helped you.
Yeah, they've helped me cover the ground. Yeah, cover more ground.
They don't make you give up. Like they don't. Like sometimes you don't feel like like there's no good man. Like you never say that.
No, I've never said that.
Okay.
I've always been like, I'm tired,
Yeah.
or like another week of some BS, and I'm like, let me get off the app for a while and just take a break. But I don't like to operate in extremes. Like this never is going to happen, or there's no good men ever. I feel like that allows you to live in a scarcity mindset, and you're never going to get what you want, thinking in a scarcity mindset that is not out there. So if you believe it's not out there, why would you ever get it?
A scarcity mindset, like in what exactly?
Like thinking small, right? Like thinking there's no good men out here. That's a scarcity mindset of this doesn't exist, or all women want men for their money. That's a scarcity mindset of there's no other women out here living different lives, having different value systems. That's scarcity. When you think in abundance, you think anything's possible, right? I may have had a string of 5 bad dates, but anything is still possible. I'm still above ground. Anything is still possible.
Okay. And how different then is Hinge than like Tinder and all those? Like, isn't it the same? Like, don't you find the same people in this, like in other apps?
You can. Again, Tinder's interface, don't love it. So I'm not on Tinder a lot. And you can find people who just want to play with you, just want sex on any app. So I don't think you're ever, like, I downloaded a Christian dating app, and there's still people out here being like, look at my penis, da 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 da. So,
a Christian app?
Yep. It was still crazy. Like, people being like, I don't like black guys. No black guys match with me. It was just insane. I was like, let me get off this app.
On a Christian app?
Yes.
Really? I thought they would be the ones that are open to, like, the most.
You would think, right?
That is insane.
You would think. So I honestly don't think it's like the app per se. I think the app is just a medium for those people, because they're going to be horrible people regardless if you met them on an app or in Target, like, so the app is just the medium for you to get in front of somebody. So it would kind of be like me going out in the world and just meeting these people face to face. The app is just making it easier for me to connect with more people in like a wider range. So to me, the app has helped me again just get in front of a lot of different people. But it took me growing in my maturity level, growing in getting really specific about what I wanted, which allowed for me to use the app in the best way. Because now I don't swipe right on anybody who doesn't have like monogamous or looking for a life partner in their bio. Like, I'm just like, okay, so this app for you is just play. Because the men who have everything listed out, like, I want a wife, I'm looking for a life partner, I know those men are serious, But
you could be lying, though.
They could be, but they took the time. They took the time to do it. And most men do not take the time to do it. And the cream rises to the top. So if 95% of men have 5 gym pictures and it's just their abs and they got great sweatpants on and like maybe a picture of a dog and they have really nothing really filled out, and you have 2 men who have regular pictures with their face in tuxedos, looking nice, looking presentable. They have their profile, described out just a tad bit more. They're the cream that rises to the top, and you just have to get to know who they are now.
But isn't that draining, getting to know a whole bunch of people?
It can be. Because sometimes I'll like forget. I'll like finish a conversation with a different guy. And I'm like, oh, that was for him. He's like, huh?
Hi.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought we were talking about this. Yeah.
No. That's good. I mean, like, hey, like, until someone actually shows you that they're gonna be solid, you go crazy. Like, go crazy on the conversation.
And I feel like you can date. I feel like people conflate the idea of dating with having a ton of sex. I don't recommend having a ton of casual sex with people and have the desire to want a fulfilling long-term relationship. I think that behavior is the antithesis of having a long-term monogamous relationship. So going out and dating is just going out with people, going to get drinks, going to dinner, going to see a movie, da.
Yeah.
But having multiple sexual relationships with a lot of different people in a casual way, I don't think that is the best course of action for finding a partner.
But for who?
For me, but I would definitely say for all people, like men and women. I think it's the antithesis of creating a healthy monogamous long-term relationship for everybody.
Because like they're used to trying a little bit of everything. Now they want to continue trying everything.
I mean, that could be a thing. The more people you experience, the more people you will compare your current partner to. So that could be a thing. But for me, it's what are you practicing in your behavior and how is that complementary to what you say you want? So like, for example, people always say, I want to lose 20 pounds, and I'm making my New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose this weight. And what happens? 4 weeks, 7 weeks later, their old habits creep back up. And they're like, dang, let me start my New Year's resolution again in March, and stuff like that. And I find in just my research and living my life that people do not fulfill that commitment that they made at the beginning of the year because they weren't practicing the things that they needed to steward over that commitment. So you weren't practicing how to portion control before you made the commitment. You weren't practicing how to have a different relationship with food before you made the commitment. And people just think that, oh, I'm going to just say I'm committed and their behavior is just going to change. It's not. That's why you have people who cheat after they've made a commitment to a relationship because you weren't doing really anything different. You just said, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
So like the people who are trying to lose weight, people who are trying to have a healthy monogamous relationship, I believe you have to be acting like a person who has a healthy monogamous relationship. So I can't be out here having sex with everybody if my intent is to have a healthy monogamous relationship. Or I can't be out here with 0 boundaries and I'm just allowing people to do whatever if I want to have a healthy relationship built on trust and respect. Your behavior has to match what you say you want.
And it's kind of like a process of elimination, like eliminating the things that, like, not necessarily focusing on the big goal, but like on the little steps. And okay, so I totally get it. I feel like you put it in a very soft way or you at least explained why men or women shouldn't be acting out of their character that they actually want to be in life.
Yeah. And if you want just sex, go ahead, get sex, But if you want a long-term monogamous relationship, you have to start acting like it in order to be able to do that thing.
You know, like, isn't it kind of though like sad that like not all men want families now? Like no, like not. No, like we're losing that perspective. I think on both sides, like on
Really?
women and men. Like, how do you see that like playing out into the future?
What do you consider family?
Family. I mean,
What do
like,
you consider like a family?
well, two parent household, kids,
Okay.
taking care of that building of that community. Then also continuing, I guess, ingraining those characteristics that you want into your children and your children carrying on to your grandchildren. Like,
Yeah.
don't you like? Is that something you want? Like, is that something that you've seen that men want, or is that something that men want less of? Like, because you said you went on a date with a 40-year-old man, so it's like,
Yeah. He had kids.
that's what I'm saying. So like, I don't know, because sometimes I'm like, once I have my kids, like, I don't know, like, like they're my focus.
Yeah, they're going to have to be. They're going to have to take up priority in some aspect. I define family just a little different.
Family, huh? Okay.
I think you can have family. You can have a family without having children introduced to it. Like, I think you can be married with somebody and they still be your family. Because I mean, legally they're considered your family when you're on your deathbed, you know. So, I don't think that necessarily people have to have kids to be considered a family, and I don't think that like marriage and or kids is for everybody.
Marriage and our kids aren't for
Yeah,
everyone?
I don't think. Some
But
people
don't you
should not be
think
married.
married is okay? So stay girlfriend and boyfriend the whole time.
I think some people are just not ready for the commitment of being married. Like they maybe just need to grow up, you know, a little more.
But that's what I'm saying. You're giving a lot of leeway to like having a 10-year relationship without a commitment.
Oh,
Or that's what I think. It's like,
you can not have sex for 10 years, you know, while you work on yourself.
but is like again, isn't that like okay? So like you just brought me revelation. Like, so you don't really believe in marriage.
No, I do. I love marriage. I will get married.
Okay.
That is my goal.
But you just said that.
I don't think everybody is ready for marriage. I don't think everybody has the capability to be married. Like, I don't think everybody should be parents. Because just because you can have a baby doesn't mean you should have a baby. Just because I could get married to somebody doesn't mean I should be married to that person. So being able to do something and knowing that you should or should not do it, I think shows a different level of maturity. So again, that's why when you said family, when men don't prioritize family, I'm wondering, that's why, because my definition of family is different. Like, you having a wife to me is you having a family. You having kids obviously is expanding your family, you know, but your wife is your family because you have to, would hope that you take care of her the way she would take care of you, you know. And I think men are just socialized a little differently.
Socialized?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, the rules that we understand about ourselves socially are just our socialization in groups. Men are not necessarily taught to prioritize having a family. Y'all are taught to be go-getters, you know? Like, I've seen a lot of men who have intertwined their personality with the amount of money that they make. And they feel like in order to reach a certain level of manhood, they have to achieve certain things that has nothing to do with family. It has to be like, oh, I have this job, now I can be considered a man. I've been able to have these amount of sexual experiences, now I can be considered a man. I'm this tall, I can be considered a man. You know, there's so many different things, but women, to be considered women, we have a different socialization. We're told to want different things. And I think that's part of the disconnect, is that each gender, or the heteronormative genders of girl and boy, we're told to want different things. Girls are told to play with the easy bake ovens and the Barbie doll houses, and boys are told to play with the Hot Wheels. And you know, you want to go out and be whatever, like go be an individual. And girls are taught from young, you need to be out here creating community. You have to be a part of community. Your focus needs to be community. If you think of in an individual aspect, now you're being selfish because you're not thinking community. But men can be individuals for a long time. So I think part of that has to do with why there's a lot of disconnect between us.
What did you say? What was that word that you just used? Because that's the first time I've been...
Socialization?
Socialization, yeah. So like our socialization would be because I can kind of see that. I think for a long time too, I associated I'll reach a certain level of manhood until this point, like, or my guess, my socialization would be like until I have a family, a wife, and a house. That's when I'm a man. Like, okay.
And do you feel like you have to reach a certain amount of financial security in order to be able to have a wife?
Not necessarily, because I mean, maybe, I mean, this is the wrong way to put it, maybe, but like sometimes I think about it and I'm like, if I'm put in that position, I think I'll be leveled up to that. But I feel like I've already am on my journey to develop as a man. Like I'm a man, but the best man I can be is yet to like come. Like, because I feel like you have to continually seek for better. And that's just the most important part. Again, even in your relationship, it's like, okay, the first time you can't just not show this to your wife or show this to your girlfriend and not be consistent. I think it should get better over time. Like the connection of intimacy should get better over time. The way that you guys understand each other should get better over time. And the same way, it's like my journey is like, intellectually I want to get better, financially I want to get better, like so that everybody around me is okay. Because I think a lot about in like responsibility perspective, like how well is my mom gonna do, like what is my dad gonna be doing, how are my brothers gonna be doing, because again I feel like I carry that responsibility that I am, or my family's the representation of me as well. Like if my family's not well, then that's on me, like as a man, like but I think that everyone carries different values, again, because I mean not everyone talks about their mom or worries about the mom. And I think it's also a cultural difference, because like I feel like as a Mexican, as an immigrant, ever since I was at a young age, like I've thought about that, like my family's financial well-being will be my responsibility in the future, because they just can't. They're not in the position to put themselves as secure as an American citizen would. So that's why I think like it's a lot different. Like culturally, I feel like there's a lot of differences. Yeah. Like white communities, black communities, Hispanic communities, Asian communities, every single one of those is very different. But I think at the end of the day, we go back to like there's a certain way that ordinary world has to work. Like there has to be structure like all the time. But
what structure?
Because you know how they say like Western perspectives are like have been like created for us, and everybody else is like traditional, like and they keep on working.
Oh, like Western people are not traditional.
Yes.
God, okay.
Because I mean like you see a lot of advertisement, a lot of propaganda, like how much of what we consume is actually us.
And not what they want us to believe.
Exactly. Like,
yeah, sure. Yeah.
So like before there used to not be a lot of marketing or propaganda on like who we had to be, and I feel like our societies function a little bit better. We were a little bit less dysfunctional, but now that we're bombarded with so much media, like even on like a way that a man should carry himself, like or just like we were talking about, like I feel like there are certain podcasts that say like you have to be worth this much so that women can see you, and like I feel like that's coming from a point of like them trying to sell you something. Yeah. Like it's not even for your own well-being. Like I don't think that's gonna help you necessarily. Like emotionally.
Exactly.
Like from an emotional standpoint, like what the fuck is $100 million gonna help you
if you're sad?
If you're sad, if you're alone, but again, I think that everybody's value system is very, very different, because like it's based off their own experiences, based off what they saw since childhood and
what they've been told.
What they've been told. So like all these things, like we're constantly being bombarded with, and it's just very, very consuming.
You know what's funny about that? So my father, he's from Panama, and I think one of my biggest, I guess, revelations that I had recently was when he told me that raising me and my brother was my mom's job. And because, again, I told you he wasn't there physically a lot, but, you know, he would give us money. And he always, I mean, he just told me that like a couple weeks ago. So he, throughout my whole life, thought that he was doing the best job he could do by being there financially for us. And I think that was due to socialization, that he felt like as the man, he should be contributing financially, and that was the most important thing. So being emotional, being nurturing had to be my mom's job because it wasn't his.
Do you think that was his own doing though, or do you think that was what was being communicated back then? Because do you blame him for that?
No, because I think that's a socialization that a lot of men have, is that they're looked at for their provisions. What can they do for their family, and not really who they are.
Because I mean, I think it has evolved over time. I feel like back then it was kind of like that, like you're in charge of this, you're in charge of this. Now then, like the responsibilities are like ever shifting. So like, really? I feel like I meet people and certain people blame their parents for who they are. Like, like how do you feel about that? Like,
yeah, I don't blame him or anything like that. Because I mean, I can't imagine what it was like growing up in Panama. I don't know what his life looked like. But I know like the family that is still there and the family that moved here, the women are just the caretakers. So like, my aunts, like my tias and my tios, like they are just different. They were bred differently. Their value systems are different. They have different roles when we have family gatherings and stuff like that. Like I just see that they're different.
And what's the conversation look like when like do you share these ideas with them? Like do you talk to them at the table about what you want and kind of like what their experience is? No.
No. No, I just asked them more about like their life in Panama. Like I just kind of asked them like more about that, because again, my father not being there physically, I grew up more around my mom's family, so like the American family. And when I saw my Panamanian family, that's when I would get to talk to them sometimes and, practice my Spanish and stuff like that with them. But I didn't see them a lot. So it always kind of felt like distant in a way. So now that I'm older and I can drive and I can go see them myself, I go and I'm now I'm more inquisitive about their life and about who they are as people. But I don't know. I don't blame my dad for who he is, because he wasn't like a horrible man to me.
Yeah.
I just realized that he can only do what he could do from his capabilities. And I know now that that's not the man that I would want my husband to be solely focused on, oh, I'm there financially, so that's good. I don't have to be there for my kids physically because, they got shoes and they got this, they got that, or whatever. I want him to be a holistic kind of guy, that he's there emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, all that.
But you don't share what I was kind of asking is like with like your family members, like you guys don't ever butt heads like on like what you expect and what they've been told, like with their roles. No, they kind of support it.
I've never really talked to them in depth about it, like.
Why do you think that is? Like they're not open to talk to you about it, or like there's just a set standard of like this is how things should be, and you guys don't ever end up in open discussions.
Well, it's different because with my mom's side of the family, well, I'll talk to my mom more directly about my like political views and my views of relationships.
Yeah.
Because my dad wasn't there physically, I don't have that strong of like an emotional connection to like pour out my like heart. So the moment that I told him that I felt like he wasn't there a lot emotionally for me, that was like the first time I ever said that in my 25 years of like living. And that was just last month,
And his response was that it was your mom's job to do it.
Yeah, he was worried about making money for us.
Okay. Do you wish he'd be a little bit more vocal? Like, do you think, or like, do you just take that response as what it is?
I take it for what it is. Yeah, it is what it is.
Okay. I mean, I think that's really emotionally mature, because I've seen a lot of people live their lives blaming their parents for who they are and who they become, and I feel like whenever someone takes actual responsibility of their own life and starts to see a little bit more inside, then you're allowed to grow, like, because like you constrain yourself to this mentality of like, oh no, it's everybody else's fault and never my responsibility. It's so
Yeah.
draining to one's character. So
Yeah. And I can realize the choices that I specifically made. And I didn't have the self-awareness of him not being there emotionally was the reason why I had this attention needing demon inside of me, right? Like I didn't see that connection until this year. So
wow,
there was
okay.
no so for me, like my revelation of trying to become a mature woman, I couldn't blame him for that because I didn't even know. Like I had no self-awareness about myself, you know? So it was more so I was asking him because I was going through a journey of healing myself, of figuring out who I was. And I just remembered an experience of like my dad hadn't called me in 6 months. And I was like, how can you just like not call like your kids? You know, like what kind of thinking that? So I brought it up to him. And then that's when he was like, I was out here making money. Your mama was in charge of y'all and da 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 da.
I mean, well, I'm glad like you're emotionally mature about it and like you don't blame him for it. Like it's maybe it was the ideas of the time and that's
It
just
still
what
is though.
Today?
Yeah, the last video I just made on TikTok was about how women believe that they are parent A, not because that we have like some special muscle in us that makes us parent A, but because boys get to or men get to opt out of parenting more often, and so it's just left up to women generally more often to be there, to go to the PTA meetings, to go to the doctor's visits, to make sure homework is getting done. It's just generally more so their job. And so they think that like, oh, I'm a better parent because I'm a woman, you know, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And men are just socialized to think differently about parenting.
But then how can we kind of change that? Like would it take like women talking to their man or the man understanding? Because I mean, let's just say like a woman marries into like a I don't know, a venture capitalist that has to work 80-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Does that man have to leave his job in order to take care of the kids whenever he is actually providing that life that family wants?
It depends on what they want for their family. I think that is completely situational. I don't think you should go into any situation with the expectation that because you're a man, you should be doing X. And because I'm a woman, I should be doing Y. Every situation has to be for the betterment of both people. So if he loves his job and it's just required that he has to be there 80 hours a week, don't know how you see him, you know, how is he really making time for you? But if he can make time for you and he can, as the VP or whatever like that, carve out 5 more hours, you know, he can compromise on that to see his family more often, then I think that's a situation that like people can compromise on. But when you are by yourself and you have a life, you know, that you've created for yourself, the second that you are entertaining the idea of adding somebody else into your life, you will have to sacrifice something. Because it's very selfish for me if one person is like, well, this is just my life. And they want the other person to like acquiesce to their life, but they don't want to acquiesce to that other person's life. It's about how both of y'all's individual lives can blend together, not about how you can come into my situation and you can work with my situation, but how can we both combine our lives to make something that works for both of us?
Man, okay. Now I see it. Now I see it from the perspective you're coming from. So is it your plan to keep on sharing your own experiences on TikTok, or like where do you see like your TikTok going, like, or your content?
Yeah, I really, again, my biggest hope is that I can help people succeed in their singleness, and I can really share the message that there's like nothing wrong with you because you're not in a relationship, especially for women. Like I don't want women to think that because you are not booed up or because you don't have a kid or a family right now that something's wrong with you. You're just in a state of building. And when your husband finds you, what is he going to find? Is he going to find somebody who's been bitter because their life hasn't gone exactly the way they thought it would? Or is he going to find a flower that has been in bloom for so long and it's just now ready for him to pick it, you know? So that's the kind of mentality that I think about. So I don't let dating get me bitter, get me angry, get me jaded to the world. I just make sure that it's like, I continuously keep growing and evolving. And the more I grow, the more I can share my growth on TikTok. So I would genuinely love to be helping women. I am entertaining the idea of getting a certificate in marriage counseling. So like relationship counseling and putting that out as a service for people. But yeah, just being able to help people with my journey is the most important thing.
And I think that would help avoid women entangling themselves with like a bad relationship at the wrong time, because I mean, I think it affects both the man and the female, like doing it, because at the end of the day, that woman did not work on herself. So like when she met that man is gonna like be destroyed too at the end of the day, and she's gonna destroy herself because again, the expectations that were there were totally out of delusional.
He's gonna completely take from her.
In what way?
Anything. You could take somebody's time and love and energy. Maybe she has access to stuff that he, built off of. Anything. Like, I genuinely feel like if you're in a relationship, because we all take and give energy to each other, like even in the space, like we're having an exchange of energy. So if you're in a relationship with somebody, and that's why I say having sex too early can be detrimental to you being able to be self-aware about certain things. But especially if you're having sex with this person, now you're really sharing a lot of energy with this person. And your ideas of them can change, your expectations of them can change, especially if it's good sex. Like, of course, you're going to want to keep doing it. And now y'all at each other's house a lot, Now you're like, hey, you hungry? You want to go to cookout? So now y'all in the car going to cookout. And now bags are here, toothbrushes, and you're like, want to go to a movie? So now you're like kind of dating, but you're not, Now it's like, what are we? It's too complicated. When if you just held off for a second, you could have seen the kind of man he was. And if all he talked about was getting sex from you, then you would know that that's what he wanted. And you could have made a decision then being like, that's what I want or that's not what I want. But yeah, I think again, going in with zero expectations and allowing people to show you who they are and being able to see them for who they are with a clear and sober mind that's not wrapped up in any sexual gratification, I think is really important.
And I mean, I like that you come from like your own experiences, and I think that also the message can help avoid a lot of pain. Like that's what I like because I mean, we do tend to do that, get caught up into things, and even for men, I know that whenever I met my girl, she's like, if only men knew that they don't have to chase women, the right women will come into their life if they focus on working on themselves. And I feel like it's the same thing for women. Like, if a woman works on herself, then she'll attract the right man like into her life. Like, and it'll be good for both of them because you're healed, I'm healed, and we can live a prosperous relationship. And I didn't take a consideration into that a lot before, but now that I'm made aware of it, I'm like, wow, like for so long, I think while I was single, we tend to like try to rush into things before knowing exactly who we are, exactly who we want. I don't have a list, but if that helps, then go ahead.
I have to tell you my list because I feel like you don't. It's a great list.
Let's see, David. I mean, you memorized it, so.
Because I want to spot. I'm like, okay. So
let's see the list.
Okay, so the first one is security. Again, can I trust who you are? Can I trust your word? Can you go out here and be faithful? Second one is generosity. Are you a generous man? Generous sexually, with your time, with your money, all that stuff. Third thing is, are you a kind man? I don't think, again, like, are you being rude to waitresses? Are you talking about fat people this and gay people this? Or are you just a kind person? Like, would you give somebody the shirt off your back because that's just who you are? Do our political and religious philosophies mesh? Like, are they compatible? And the fifth, what?
Okay, continue.
And the fifth thing and the last thing is, do you have discipline? That to me is the testament of a true man. Is when you can go into a situation, see a bunch of beautiful big booty girls, and be like, I love my wife, and you leave, Or when you can have a discipline of like, I know I'm not getting sex from her right now because we're going through something. I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to just leave my situation if it's not working for me no more. But I have the discipline to know that this is either not working and I'm going to leave, or I'm going to work on my relationship. So discipline, 100% is so important.
Okay. I mean, and I would say like discipline on every level, like it's necessary. Exactly. I think for both parties. But I get it from your perspective, definitely. But that philosophy part, then, like, let's say that person isn't of faith as you are, but has all the other qualities. Does that person automatically not match with you?
Are they like atheists, or they just have a different religious?
That I would say like different religious view or philosophy, because I mean there are philosophies that, or for example, my philosophy would be like that hardship makes you into the man that you have to be. Like, you have to go through hardship. Some people don't believe in that. Some people don't believe in hardship. Like, some people don't believe that you have to be mentally fortified through your journey so you can become the man that you have to be. So, like, if that wasn't there, like...
Is that religious, though, or is that just...
I mean, that's philosophy. I would say that's philosophy.
Yeah.
Like,
see, because my biggest thing is that politically and religiously, our philosophies are compatible. Okay. So I know a lot of people who, maybe not just Christians, but I know, like, in my experience as a Christian, you believe that God tests you. And so if, if a person believes that I'm gaining strength from God because he's testing me, I'm one of his strongest warriors because he's testing me, and somebody else believes like life should be easy, you may have some conflict because maybe you think that the struggle is necessary and they don't, so they're willing to jump ship more often than you are. That could be a thing. But the reason I said compatible versus like same philosophy is because I think nobody can be 100% the same person. Like, even if you have like your best friend, y'all probably came from different like areas of life, like culturally, or the way y'all grew up was different. And so we probably won't have the exact same philosophy, but can we be compatible? Can we come together and the way you view life be compatible with the way I view life? And so I think that's really important.
But that would take being open-minded, because, like, just like you said, like, you have certain friendships that will allow you to bring certain conversations to the table, and then other conversations, other friendships that won't allow you to do that. I feel like the best ones are the ones where you can be open about, hey, this and this and that, and let's talk about it type thing. Like, let's not just adopt one perspective. Because, again, I feel like we're always evolving. Like, the way I think today might evolve in a year from now. Not necessarily my values, but the way that I think, like my philosophy might change a little bit, but to my core values, I'll always stick to the same. But I feel like it's always good to have, like, I'm glad I had this conversation with you, because I feel like you're really open-minded just to like explore the idea of everything, and you haven't really constrained yourself to like one way of thinking. Like, do you think that has helped you out in your life? Is that something that you just recently adopt, to like being open-minded to things?
I've always been that way. Always. I think it's because of the way I grew up, where my mom, she was pretty open to a lot of certain stuff. Like, she never like was super judgmental, so I never grew up like judging different groups of people. But even in the ways that I see now that she is a little particular about stuff, I take the philosophy that I don't want somebody to constrain me or tell me how to live my life, so I'm not going to do that to other people. So I'm very open-minded about dating other religions and other stuff. It just has to be like our philosophies about it has to be compatible.
Okay.
Just what do you believe? Because you can be a Christian. You can put 10 Christians in the room and they believe different things. So just because you have a label or something, you can put liberals, conservatives. Like, the label doesn't tell me who you are. Like, what do you believe? I think that's important.
Okay.
And again, that's why asking questions versus making statements is super important.
I like it. And I thank you for coming on the podcast and giving me your time to just discuss these topics. I feel like you're really a good guest to have, because you're really open on the perspectives. And I mean, I hope you grow also your audience on TikTok. Hopefully this is also good for you. But let's see. I always like to end the podcast with like, what message would your younger self give to the present person you are today?
So what my younger self say to my mature self?
Yeah, like how proud would he be? Like how proud would he be?
I honestly believe that I am healing that hurt little 5-year-old girl who thought that life couldn't get any better than what was going on in her life at that time. I think growing my self-confidence and knowing that I too can achieve my dreams, I too can have the life I want, I believe that she's smiling. And I think we all take our little kid selves with us. And they're a part of us because they're a part of our journey. And recognizing when you can mature from that and you can grow from that, or if you're still stuck in that place, I think gives you a level of self-awareness. But for her, I'm doing the best I can for her at the end of the day. All the decisions I make, all the things I don't entertain and things I do entertain is really for her. And to make sure that like at the end of the day, I'm consistent, I'm intentional, because she needs me to do that. So yeah.
I like it. I mean, yeah, healing our inner child. And Jessica, again, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one.